Chapter 4. Humans have competed with pests such as insects, rodents, wildlife, diseases, parasites, and weeds throughout history. Through the years, humans have added pesticides to their tactics to combat these pests. The term pest refers to any organism that can adversely affect humans, animals, crops, structures, property, and natural resources. Pests compete with humans, domestic animals, wildlife, and crops for food, water, nutrients, habitat, space, and light. Pests can spread disease to humans, domestic animals, wildlife, and plants. A good pesticide applicator knows how to select the best methods to reduce pest populations and select control measures that work well together. Having knowledge of what pests you may encounter will help you to select the best methods of control. In order for a pesticide applicator to effectively control the pest, an applicator needs to identify the pest and the damage symptoms, know the pest's life cycle and biology, be able to select the best method, of control that will not damage or injure host plants, animals, and non-target organisms. Pests can be placed into 5 main categories: insects, plant pathogens, disease, nematodes, weeds, animals, vertebrate pests. Insects. There are 3 times as many insects as other animals in the animal kingdom. Insects are everywhere, in snow, water, air, soil, hot springs, and in or on plants and animals. Not all insects are pests. For example, termites in the forest consuming dead wood would not be considered a pest. However, termites living and feeding on a human-made structure would be. Certain insects compete with humans and animals for food. Some insects, such as human lice, survive by feeding on humans. Insects are also an important part of the Earth's ecosystem, and we could not survive without them. Pesticide applicators must know some basic facts about in the life cycle, biology, habitat and food source of insect pests. Insects can be broken into 3 groups by how they affect humans. 1 species that are not considered pests and do not adversely affect humans. About 99% of all insect species are in this group. They are food for birds, fish, mammals, reptiles, and other insects. Many insects are beautiful and pleasant to look at. 2 beneficial insects includes predators and parasites that feed on pest insects, mites, and weeds. Examples are ladybird beetles, ladybugs, and the praying mantis. Insects that pollinate crops, such as honeybees, bumblebees, and butterflies, also are beneficial. Other products we get from insects are silk and dyes for paints. 3 pest insects. This group has the fewest members. These insects feed on, cause harm to, or transmit disease to humans, animals, plants, food, fiber, and structures. Examples of common insect pests are mosquitoes, fleas, ticks, termites, roaches, aphids, and leaf or root beetles. Note, only about 3% of insects in agricultural fields are pests. Characteristics of insects. The insect body. All adult insects have 2 traits in common. 1. They have 3 body regions: the head, thorax, and abdomen, and 2. They have 3 pairs of jointed legs. The head. Attached to the head are the antennae, eyes, and mouth parts. These parts vary in size and shape among species and can be helpful in identifying most insects. Antennae are paired appendages usually located between or below the eyes. Antennae vary greatly in size and form, and are used in the classification and identification of insects. Some common types of antennae and representative example insects are clubbed. Segments increase in size away from the head. For example, Japanese beetles. Filiform, thread-like. The segments are nearly even in size. They are shaped like a cylinder. For example, ground beetles and cockroaches. Maniliform, like a string of beads. The segments are the same size and round in shape. For example, termites. Plumose, feathery. Most segments have whorls of long hair. For example, the male mosquito. Serrate, saw-like. The segments are more or less triangular in shape. For example, click beetles. Mouth parts are different in various groups of insects and used to classify and identify insects. The type of mouth part determines how the insect feeds and what type of damage it does. There are 4 main kinds of mouth parts. Chewing mouth parts. These have jaws with teeth that bite and tear the food. Beetles, cockroaches, ants, caterpillars, and grasshoppers have these piercing sucking mouth parts. These are long, slender tubes that the insect forces into plant or animal tissue to suck out fluids or blood. Mosquitoes and aphids have these sponging mouthparts or tongue-like structures that have Spongy tips to suck up liquids or food that can be made liquid by the insect's saliva. Houseflies and blowflies have these types of mouthparts. Siphoning mouthparts are long tubes that the insect uses for sucking nectar. Butterflies and moths have these types of mouthparts. The thorax. The thorax is the middle body segment that has 3 pairs of legs, and sometimes 1 or 2 pairs of wings, forewings and hind wings, attached to it. Legs come in many sizes, shapes, and functions and are helpful in identifying insect. Insects use them for walking, running, jumping, and climbing. The legs of some insects have become very specialized. In some insects, like the large jumping legs of a grasshopper, crickets, and some grasshoppers have developed an eardrum at the base of one of their leg segments. Wings also vary in size, shape, and texture. The pattern of veins on the wings of an insect is often used to identify insect species. The forewings of some insects are hard and shell-like, such as beetles, while grasshoppers have leathery forewings. The forewings of flies are thin, clear and are membrane-like. The wings of moths, butterflies, and mosquitoes are membranous, but are covered with scales. Abdomen. The abdomen of an insect has segments. Along the sides of the segments are openings, called spiracles, which the insect uses to breathe. The abdomen also contains the digestive and reproductive organs. Parts of the abdomen can be used in the identification of the insect, such as the ovipositor, male genitalia, and cerci. Cerci are elongated appendages at the end of the abdomen in some insects, such as the earwig. How insects reproduce and develop. Reproduction. In most insects, males fertilize females, and then the females lay eggs. But there are a few species that are different. Some parasitic wasps produce eggs without ever mating. In some insect species, there are no males. A few insects even give birth to live young. Some insects lay eggs one at a time. Some lay them in groups. Some lay them in floating rafts. Some insects lay eggs in capsules that contain several eggs. Then, the adult carries them until they hatch. Sometimes, insects place their eggs inside trees, green plants, or the bodies of animals or other insects. Eggs vary in size and shape: round, oval, flat, and elongated. Egg hatching is influenced by temperature, humidity, and light. Eggs can sometimes be used to identify the insect, such as the glassy-winged sharpshooter. Insect development, metamorphosis. Insects go through a series of changes as they grow from egg to adult. This process of growth is called metamorphosis. After hatching from an egg, a young insect is called either a larva, nymph, or naiad. The young immature insect feeds for a while and grows. When it grows to the point where its skin cannot stretch any further, it molts, sheds its skin, and a new skin is formed. An instar is the stage of insect between successive molts, the first instar being between hatching and the first molt. The number of instars can differ between species. Sometimes, they vary with the temperature, humidity, and food supply. Most of the time, the heaviest feeding occurs during the last 2 instars. There are 4 types of metamorphosis. 1. No metamorphosis. Some insects do not change much from when they hatch until they reach adulthood. The insect grows larger with each instar with little change in form. It reaches maturity. A nymph is a miniature version of the adult. The food and habitat of the nymphs are often the same as the adults. The adults and nymphs are both wingless. Some examples of insects in this group are springtails, firebrats, and silverfish. 2. Simple or gradual metamorphosis. Insects in this group mature through 3 distinct stages: egg, nymph, and adult. The nymphs are like the adults both in appearance, how they feed and live in the same environment. The main difference is the nymph cannot reproduce or fly. Its body matures gradually, with the wings and reproductive organs becoming fully developed only in the adult stage. Some examples of insects in this group include cockroaches, lice, termites, scales, and aphids. 3. Incomplete metamorphosis. Insects in this group also pass through 3 stages of development: egg, naiad, and adult. Adult and naiad are alike in some ways, but also have some very specific differences. The naiads live in the water and breathe through gills. The adults have wings and live near the water, but do not have gills. Some examples of insects in this group include stoneflies, mayflies, and dragonflies. 4. Complete metamorphosis. Insects in this group undergo 4 stages of development: egg, larva, pupa, and adult. The larvae hatch from eggs. As they grow larger, they molt and usually have been 3 to 5 instars. The larvae Come in several shapes and sizes, some with legs like caterpillars or have no legs like maggots. Larvae are recognized by most people as caterpillars, maggots or grubs, and look very different from the adult. The larvae and adults live in different habitats and eat different food. Caterpillars usually crawl on plants and eat the leaves, while the adult butterfly flies around, drinking the nectar of blooming plants for food. The pupa often is called the resting stage, but the insect is not resting. While in this stage, the larva changes into an adult with legs, wings, usually, antennae, and a fully working reproductive system. Some examples of insects in this group include ladybird beetle, black vine beetle, and monarch butterflies. Insect-like pests. Spiders, ticks, mites, sobugs, millipedes, and centipedes may seem like insects in appearance, life cycle, and size, but they are not. Non-insect pests. Miscellaneous pests. In the moist organic soils of western Oregon, one of the major pests is not an insect, but a garden symphylan. These are small, whitish centipede-like, fast-moving creatures that measure about 0.25 inch long when mature, and have 6 to 12 pairs of legs, depending on age, which make them easy to differentiate from common soil insects, which have only 3 pairs of legs. Symphylans feed on sprouting seeds, roots, and other organic material. Centipedes are flat, long, worm-like animals with each body segment having 1 pair of legs. They have chewing mouthparts, and some can give painful bites to humans. Centipedes live in protected places under tree bark or in rotting logs. They are fast and predacious, capturing and eating insects, spiders, and small animals. All centipedes have poisonous jaws. Millipedes are shaped like an earthworm. They have many legs, 2 pairs on each body segment. Their mouthparts are adapted to feed on decaying organic material. They live in decaying leaf litter, rotting logs, and in damp debris near building foundations. There is some debate about whether millipedes and centipedes undergo metamorphosis. Mollusks. Mollusks are a large group of land and water animals. Examples are slugs, oysters, clams, barnacles, and snails. They have soft bodies that don't have segments and are often protected by a hard shell. Arachnids. Arachnids include spiders, mites, ticks, and scorpions. Adults all have 8 legs and only 2 body regions: the head and the abdomen. They do not have wings or antennae. Arachnids mature through metamorphosis. The eggs hatch into larvae with 6 legs. The larvae molt into nymphs with 8 legs, and the nymphs molt into adults. Spiders and scorpions have chewing mouthparts. Ticks and mites have a kind of piercing sucking mouthparts. Ticks sometimes transmit diseases such as Lyme disease or Rocky Mountain spotted fever when feeding on humans and animals. Crustaceans. Most of the animals in this class live in water. Lobsters and shrimp are in this group. There are a few members that live on land and can become pests. Sobugs, often called pillbugs or roly-polies, are black, gray, or brown and roll up into a ball when disturbed. Sobugs live under stones, boards, blocks, or decaying wood. Some are pests of cultivated plants, but usually they are pests in moist basements and garages. Snails and slugs. Land snails and slugs have 2 pairs of body parts that look like antennae. Their bodies are soft, smooth, and elongated. Snails have a spiral-shaped shell that they can withdraw completely inside it to protect themselves from predators and weather. Slugs do not have a shell and must look for a damp place to hide. Snails and slugs feed on plants at night. They have rasp-like tongues. They tear holes in foliage, fruits, and soft stems, damage root crops, and sometimes eat entire seedlings. Slugs are a significant pest in western Oregon. Many slugs consume several times their own body weight each day. Snails and slugs leave a slime-like mucus trail that dries into silvery streaks. These streaks are unattractive on floral and ornamental crops and crops to be sold for human food. Slugs and snails lay eggs in moist, dark places. The young mature in a year or more, depending on the species. Adults might live for several years. They overwinter in sheltered areas. Plant pathogens, diseases, or biological agents. Biological agents are called pathogens and can cause plant diseases. A plant disease is a harmful condition that alters a plant's growth, appearance, or function. Some diseases can be cured with the use of pesticides, while others pesticides can be used to prevent the pathogen from infecting a plant. Pathogens include bacteria, fungi, viruses, protozoans, and nematodes. They are spread by wind, rain, insects, birds, snails, slugs, earthworms, contaminated equipment and tools, infected seed and plants, transplanted soil, nursery grafts, vegetative propagation, bulbs, tubers, roots, stem cuttings, pollen, dust storms, irrigation water, animals, and people. Plant pathogens are parasites. They live and feed on the host plant. In order for the disease to develop, the pathogen must be present, the plant must be susceptible, and the environment must be favorable for the pathogen to develop. Temperature and moisture are very important to a pathogen's ability to develop. Before an infection starts, the pathogen must get into the plant. Plants respond to disease in 3 main ways. 1. The leaves curl or tissues overdevelop, forming galls and swells. 2. The leaves become yellow because they do not have enough chlorophyll, and the affected plant area does not develop completely. 3. Tissues die, and spots are formed. These spots may coalesce and form a blighted appearance. Plants may wilt, or cankers may form on stems. Bacteria. Bacteria are one-celled organisms and can only be seen with a microscope. Bacteria reproduce by single-cell division and multiply quickly under warm, humid conditions. Bacteria can attack any part of a plant. Several of the leaf spot and rot diseases are caused by bacteria. Phytoplasmas are a special type of one-celled organism. Unlike bacteria, they can live only inside of host cells. Yellow's diseases and some stunts are caused by phytoplasmas. Blackleg and soft rot of potato are examples of a bacterial disease. Fungi. Fungi are a group of organisms that range from microscopic single-celled species to larger multicellular species. Examples of fungi include yeasts, rusts, smuts, molds, mildews, and mushrooms. Many fungi are beneficial to humans. Unlike plants, fungi cannot make their own food. They feed off other living or dead organisms, aiding in the decomposition of organic matter that other organisms cannot break down. They play an important role in release and recycling of nutrients, helping to make soil more fertile. There are also many species of fungi that are common plant pathogens. Fungi reproduce in a variety of ways, but many produce spores, which act the same way seeds do for plants. Fungal spores are microscopic and are produced in high numbers. Spores generally require high humidity to germinate and grow. Powdery mildew is an example of a fungal disease. Viruses. Viruses are smaller than bacteria and need a special microscope to be seen. Most viruses are recognized by the symptoms they cause on an infected plant. Viruses depend on the cells of other living organisms to reproduce and typically cannot survive long on their own. Viruses invade healthy plants through wounds or during pollination. Insects that feed with piercing sucking mouthparts, aphids, whiteflies, and leaf hoppers, and chewing insects, beetles, can transmit viruses while feeding. Nematodes also can spread viruses. Viruses are host-specific, meaning one type of virus can typically only infect one type of plant. All plants are susceptible to viruses. Apple mosaic virus is an example of a virus disease. Nematodes. Nematodes are tiny eel-like round worms and most can only be seen with a microscope. Nematodes feed by sucking the contents of a plant cell through their needle-like mouth. Nematodes cause wilting, stunting, and reduced crop yield. Nematodes can spread other plant diseases when they feed. Some nematodes destroy the plant's root system so that it cannot take up enough water and minerals, which weakens the plant. Heavily infested plants wilt and do not grow well. Nematodes also can deform roots, and cysts, knots or small excessively hairy roots may form. Not all nematodes feed on roots. Some nematodes feed on foliage, such as leaf chrysanthemum nematode, which causes angular sections of brown, dried tissue on the leaves late in the season. Other nematodes are parasites of pets and livestock and cause problems such as heartworm in dogs and worms in livestock. Some nematodes are beneficial and feed on pest insects. Weeds. When a plant grows where it is not wanted, it is called a weed. Any plant can be a weed. In fact, many weeds are plants that escaped from people's gardens. Weeds can harm humans by causing skin irritation, causing allergic reactions, by harboring pests such as rodents, ticks, or insects. Weeds can harm desirable plants by contaminating the product at harvest, by competing for water, nutrients, light, space, and habitat, by hosting pest insects, mites, vertebrates, or plant disease agents, by releasing toxins into the soil that can impact growth of desirable plants. Weeds can affect grazing animals and livestock production by poisoning animals, causing injury to eyes or mouth, or causing an off flavor in milk and meat. Weeds may be pests in water by hindering fish growth and reproduction, increasing mosquito breeding, because of increased water stagnation, plugging irrigation and drainage ditches and channels, hindering boating, fishing, and swimming, decreasing water quality. Weeds are dangerous on rights of way for these reasons. They block vision, road signs, and crossroads. They may trap water on roadways, causing puddling, increase road repair costs, increase fire hazards. Plant development, growth, stages. Plants go through 4 stages of growth. 1 seedling, which are very small and tender. 2 vegetative, rapid growth of roots, stem, and foliage. Nutrients and water move quickly through the plant. 3 seed production, plants use most of their energy toward reproduction. Water and nutrients go to making flowers, fruit, and seed. 4 maturity, movement of water and nutrients slow down in the plant and energy production slows down. Understanding a plant's growth stages will help to decide which control measures work best during certain stages of the plant's life cycle. Some stages are easier to control or take less time, money and effort, while other stages are harder to control. Weed life cycle. There are 4 things that trigger a plant to grow or go dormant: day length, soil temperature, air temperature, and precipitation. Annuals. Plants that grow from seed, mature, and produce seed for the next generation in less than 12 months are called annuals. Many grass and broad-leaved weeds are annuals. Summer annuals grow from seeds that germinate in the spring. They grow, mature, produce seed, and die before winter. Foxtail, pigweed, lamb's quarters, and crabgrass are summer annuals. Winter annuals germinate in the fall. They mature, produce seed, and die before the next summer. Henbit, common chickweed, and annual bluegrass are winter annuals. Biennials. Plants that have a 2-year life cycle are called biennials. During the first year, they grow from seed and develop a heavy root and compact cluster of leaves called a rosette. During the second year, they mature, produce seed, and die. Bull thistle and burdock are biennials. Sugar beets, grown for seed, also are biennials. Perennials. When plants live more than 2 years, they are called perennials. Perennials may mature and set seed in the first year and can repeat that cycle for several years, potentially indefinitely. Some perennial plants die back each winter. Others, such as trees, may lose their leaves, but they do not die back. Most perennials grow from seed. Many perennials produce tubers, bulbs, rhizomes, or stolons. Rhizomes are root-like stems that grow below the ground. Stolons are horizontal stems that grow above ground and produce roots, like strawberry plants. Simple perennials such as trees, shrubs, plantain, and dandelions usually reproduce by seeds. Some can also reproduce by root pieces if they are cut or severed during cultivation. The pieces can then grow into new plants. Bulbous perennials may reproduce by seed bulblets or bulbs. Wild garlic produces seed and bulblets above ground and bulbs below ground. Creeping perennials reproduce by seed, rhizomes, or stolons. Johnson grass, field bindweed, and Bermuda grass are examples of creeping perennials. How to identify a weed. Arrangement of leaves. Alternate: there is 1 leaf at each level on the stem. Opposite: there are 2 leaves opposite each other or paired. Whorled: there are 3 or more leaves at each level on the stem. Leaf structure. Compound: the leaf blade is divided into several leaf-like parts called leaflets. Simple: the leaf blade is a single piece and is not divided into separate leaflets. Leaf shape. Ovate: the leaf is egg shape, oblong, and broadest at the base. Lanceolate: the leaf is lance shape, longer than ovate, and usually pointed at the tip. Linear: the leaf is long and narrow with parallel sides. Grasses have linear leaves. Arrangement of the flowers. Single: the blossoms do not form clusters. Inflorescence: the blossoms form clusters. Terminal: the blossoms are at the top of the plant. Axillary: the blossoms grow along the stem of the plant in the angles between the leaves and the stem. The angle between the leaf and the stem is called the leaf axil. Flower parts. Petals: the petals are the expanded, and usually colorful, parts of the flower. Sepals: the sepals are the greenish hull surrounding the flower when it is budding. Major classes or groups of weeds. Grasses have round, hollow stems, stand upright and have narrow leaves with parallel veins. Grass seeds when sprouting have only 1 leaf at germination. For this reason, they are called monocotyledons, or monocots for short. Because their growing point is below the soil's surface, you can mow grasses without killing the plants. Most grasses have fibrous root systems and are desirable for erosion control along waterways. Grasses have both annual and perennial species. Sedges are similar to grasses, but they have triangular stems and 3 rows of leaves. They sometimes are listed under grasses on the pesticide label. These plants often are found in wet places but are occasionally found in fertile, well-drained soils. Yellow and purple nutsedge are perennial sedges. They produce rhizomes and tubers or nutlets. Broadleaf seeds divide into 2 parts, so the emerging seedlings have 2 leaves and are called dicotyledons, or dicots for short. The veins of their leaves are net-like. Broadleaf plants usually have a taproot and their root system is somewhat coarse. All broadleaf plants have exposed growing points at the end of each stem and in each leaf. Axil. Perennial broadleaf plants also may have growing points on roots and stems above and below the surface of the soil. Broadleaf weeds have annual, biennial, and perennial species. Animals, vertebrate pests. Vertebrates are animals with a jointed backbone. Humans are vertebrates, as are other mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fish. Most vertebrates are not pests and are a pleasant part of our environment. However, vertebrates can be pests. Sometimes birds, rodents, raccoons, or deer can damage crops or ornamentals, and infest dwellings. Some birds and rodents eat the same food as humans and livestock. They often ruin more food than they eat. Some mammals and birds attack livestock and poultry while others can spread disease to people and other animals. They can cause financial losses to farmers and ranchers each year. Flocks of roosting birds are pests when they defecate on buildings. Rodents are a hazard to public health when they are in homes, restaurants, offices, or warehouses. Rodents, other mammals, and some birds can carry serious diseases such as rabies, distemper, plague, and tularemia. You might need a permit or other permission before you may bait, hunt, trap, or relocate a vertebrate pest. Contact your regional office of the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife for details. To find out where your regional office is, or for more details, call Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, 503-947-6000. Fact and picture sheets can help you know your vertebrate pests. They are handy and easy to use. Ask the Extension Service if they have them, or if they know where you can get them.